of people in Marbridge Foundation in South Austin who have traumatic brain injuries. And so Through the Flames is about a football player who gets a concussion, but it's also the surrounding world around him and the dealing with that. And I felt like that was just a really important thing that pulled at my heart that people don't understand. I was a phys ed major in college, and then I broke my back, and so I wasn't able to finish that degree. And to the same point, then people don't understand how pressured you are from the inside as a teenager and a college student and a young adult to succeed, even at the cost of your sanity and your ability to deal with things. So that was just really an important part of me needing to express that to other people.
Probably really impacted a lot of people in that. So.
People that read it are pretty much speechless at first, but then when they can finally start talking to you about it, it really has opened some good conversations.
When writers make themselves vulnerable, you know, and they kind of spill their guts out there, no matter what you're writing about, that really reaches people. The energy of that reaches people, and they can tell. It's like when an actor's acting and they strike a nerve with the audience. You can tell. You can tell when somebody's pouring their guts out to you. So I hope that answers your question.
There's this great title to a book that I love the title. The title is Just Open a Vein. That's pretty much how it is. Just bleed all over the page and then people will really like it.
People like it when you're vulnerable and spill your secrets. That's what the blog is for. Any other questions?
Do you feel like you get inspired to write by writing or by reading more?
I'm inspired by reading.
I'm going to say I'm inspired by reading these days. And it's a hard balancing act anymore. Because I find that the more I read, the better writer I am.
I'm inspired by writing, except bad poetry. It's a huge inspiration. Good writing is just, I don't even want to write after I read good writing. Like Dashiell Hammett, I mean, why? But bad poetry is very inspiring.
Do you find, is it like, so it's not difficult to read that poetry? You're like, oh, this...
Say again?
So it's not difficult for you to read that poetry and avoid it?
It is difficult.
Okay.
It makes me angry, and that inspires me.
I work with there's a poet at the library. She's bad poetry makes her very angry too. Like it makes her extremely, which is so funny. Poetry is so subjective, you know. Like, and I tried like Rupi Kaur drives her up the freaking wall, and I like Rupi Kaur, and I'm in the mind. I mean, but I'm not a poet. And anyway, that's it. Only.
She's a New York Times bestseller. She's on the Tonight Show.
I like her.
She must be good.
I think she started out on Instagram. Like she was like writing these sort of like 4-line poems about her body and breaking up with her boyfriend, and she got all these followers and all the poets out there who slog out their guts like, that's not poetry! And Rupi's like, but I have 50 million followers, so I guess I am a poet. And anyway, it's a thing. It's a
the
thing.
publishing houses were like, but we didn't publish your book, so you're not a writer, you're not a poet.
I know.
And she's like, well, I have all these people who are willing to give you money. Oh, okay, yes, you're a poet.
And now she's an award winner.
Now she's on the Tonight Show,
Yep.
talking in that poet's voice. You know how poets talk, right? Is that it?
That's good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you. Young man.
Do you have any favorite writers that you look up to a lot?
Yes.
My favorite author is Roald Dahl. I write spooky children's young adult fiction, so but my favorite novel is actually The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. So I don't know if anybody's ever read that, but I always put that on the staff picks at the library, and it's a big book, and I make people read it because I'm a bossy librarian, and they come back and they thank me. It's amazing. Yeah.
I grew up on Tolkien. I've always loved his stuff. So fantasy and I like reading things that show that people were really there when they wrote it. And some people, it seems that it's just written like we were talking with Danielle Steele, or
They
a
found
lot
the
of the
formula.
fantasy, they found the formula, they put in different things. Some people are really drawn to that. The Harlequin novels were the
works.
same way, just
It
people love
sells.
it, they can grab it, read it, they know it's gonna finish in 140 pages and that's it. But I love to have the creativity there where the person got in there and told me what was in their heart or what was going on in their life or whatever.
At any given time, the same 5 novelists will be in the New York Times bestseller list. You know, Nicholas Sparks. I know we're getting a little off topic here, but I won't read him because apart from I don't read that kind of stuff, but he totally insulted his readers by saying, you know, I've got this formula and I follow it, and they just lap it up like a bunch of idiots, or something to that effect. And I'm like, well, okay, well, I'm never going to read you. But there's more like him.
And the publishing house is the big one. We're talking the 6 that became the 5 that were really only the 1.
Yeah.
Those people love that formula stuff. They
Well-
know it's going to sell. They know how much money is going to come in. They know they can run tens of thousands of copies.
And can you blame them? I mean,
No, that's what they're there about.
that's
That's
where the money
exactly
is.
what they're there
Which is
about.
why self-publishing, I think, is valid and important, because there is a place for our voices that aren't mainstream. I'm not a mainstream person. And the things I have to talk about, the things that are important to me, the stories I have to tell are not mainstream. And so I'm not saying that once I finish my current manuscript that I won't send it out to a couple of agents and see what happens, but much like with this, I just felt a sense of urgency. Like, I'm not going to sit around and wait for somebody to tell me this is good enough. I had this like crazy feeling that I had to get it out while my children were a certain age. Like, that was my driving force. And that was more important than getting Simon and Schuster or Macmillan or whatever to say it's good enough. And no regrets. It did well. It did better than I thought.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know what'll happen with the next one, but you know, the doors tend to open up at the right time. You know, it's just how things go. So we'll see what happens.
I'd like to share experience recently, because I think it sheds light on some of what you were just talking about. But I self-published, I went through Kindle Direct, I self-published a childhood memoir. And fortunately, I had a friend who had a good contact in New York City with a literary agent. And because of him, she agreed. You know, it's very hard to get a New York literary agent to read a manuscript, no matter what. But she gave it a really, really good read and was very complimentary. But here's what the point I want to make. She told me that in order to attract the companies that she worked with in the Northeast, that I needed to have a pot boiler or a page turner. And she told me she loved the writing style, the authenticity of my experiences that I laid out, but I might want to hire a freelance writer to turn that into a page turner. Mm-hmm. And you know, I thought about that. I thought, boy, if I could crack that market, you know, I wouldn't have to worry about the rest of my golden years. That'd be great if I could bring in some big bucks. But then I only thought that for a second, because then I thought what I'm going to get out of that is I'm going to get a memoir where I don't even recognize myself in that. And so I immediately thanked her and pulled back. And that led me to question a lot of these really popular,
Yes.
memoirs and such that come out and they do extremely well on the market. And I guess I was a little naive, but I thought, this is the way the world operates in that business. And so a lot of these memoirs that I'm reading, that maybe they're authentic and maybe they're not. Maybe some freelance writer did it. And I thought, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to do it my own way. And I did, and I've been very happy with that.
I think that's the best thing about independent publishers and self-publishing, is that it's your own voice still. After everything's gone through and you've got it in physical form, it's still your voice.
I mean, a good editor is worth their weight in gold. They will just spit shine what you've done,
Right.
And that's different from
That's a whole
hiring.
different- yeah, it's a whole different-
and that's extremely important, I think.
Yeah.
At least it was for me.
What a surreal story. Thank you, Greg. Like throughout that whole story, you didn't talk about writing at all. The only person who was writing was the person that you were going to hire, right? So you write for yourself, but through that whole rigmarole, you're not even writing. Like, that is so bizarre, right?
Right.
And I hope you agree that you're so much better off because you know why you write.
Well, I know I'm much better off. Yeah, because I didn't have to think about that very long at all.
Yeah. That is just surreal.
Yeah, I thought it was too. I was shocked by it, actually. And she was giving me good advice from a financial standpoint.
Exactly.
I mean, she was doing her work as a literary agent.
Yeah.
She saw there was something here we could work with,
Right.
But I wasn't looking at it from a financial standpoint.
Because you enjoy writing. You don't enjoy thinking about business strategies.
Right.
You don't enjoy thinking about someone else writing. That's so fucking bizarre.
And that was one of the other points, Jennifer, when you were talking about a couple of months to get your book out. If you turn it over to one of the major houses, it's going to be a year before it's out. And it's not going to look very much like what you started with.
And in the publishing year, there are certain months where it's more beneficial to be put out than, like, you don't want your, I don't remember what months they are, but I know publishing, like traditional publishing, kind of shuts down in December. And so there's advantageous months to come out. And also when they do the awards, you don't want your book coming out towards the end of the award consideration, because then, there's all this
You don't get
politics.
considered. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to
there's
be
all
running
this
in
crazy
the
politics. I don't have time for that. So,
It's very interesting.
Kind of coming up here into our time. If we have something else we need to know. Somebody's like, no, drag it out.
drag it out.
I'm enjoying this a lot.
Do you have a question?
Me?
Yes?
So many questions.
Ask.
But anyway.
We're better on paper.
I wonder if you could just quickly, all of you, could address the issue of you have to be willing to accept criticism, because the moment you release that, when you publish it, I'm sure you all have had your moments when you think, I'd like to have that back. I don't know if I'm ready for people to see this or not. Is that your experience?
It's really interesting because with a lot of, as being the editor, people give me their stuff and we work through it very carefully, and they always wish, once we've released it, that they could have it back and make this one last change. I think that's the way we all are. We just keep going. But if I put in that other scene, maybe it would have, if there's a point at which you do have to just say, to the best of me and whoever's working with me's ability, let's get it out of here. But I really feel like you do have to take criticism, you do have to, somebody's really there with you and loves what's going on, they're going to say, this really takes off the other direction.
My publicist was like, you know, it's not realistic for everybody to love your work. So don't expect it. Don't get your panties in a wad if somebody thinks you're awful. Over the years, I've weathered it. I'm a sensitive person by nature, so it's not awesome when somebody says your work sucks or it's not my cup of tea. But overwhelmingly, you know, you get the opposite. When I was sending my manuscript out to agents initially, I kept getting the same feedback, and that was, this is too dark for kids, too dark. And I'm like, but, and I felt on one hand like, well, if enough people say it, maybe I need to pay attention to that, because there's validation, I mean, there's validity, and if, you know, if enough professionals point something out, maybe you should take it into hefty consideration, except that I felt very strongly that it needed to remain as it was. And so I kept the story the way it was, and I published it, and a lot of the readers were like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, in chapter 1, something kind of gross happens to this kid, but I mean, it was necessary, and it's fantasy, whatever, you can do what you want, but, so there were some adults who bought it for their kids because of the age group that it was like marketed to, that were not pleased, but I was like, whatever. So, like, again, not everybody's gonna love you. I mean, that's playground 101, you know what I mean? It's okay, gravitate towards the ones that think you're awesome.
I hate to be too simplistic, but like I said, I write to write. So someone saying that's not good, I mean, I'm not even having that conversation, honestly. Now, I will get better as a writer if I keep writing. And the thing that keeps me writing is deadlines. And the reason the deadline matters is because I've announced it on social media. And I projected my fear of being a failure on other people. So, quality, I didn't say quality one time in my answer, did I, Greg? And that's because, like I said, writing for me is a release. It's a catharsis. Good, bad, like I said, I'll get better if I keep doing it. But that's not, good and bad don't enter, I hate to be too simplistic, but it doesn't enter my mind in the creation of art.
Alright, I have one last question before we wrap up. If one of us in this room got into the hellish situation where all we had in front of us was a Nicholas Sparks novel and a Wi-Fi connection, how would we find y'all's work?
GypsyShadow.com.
jkabay.com. That's J as in Jennifer, and then Kabay. I would like you to read Thoughts and Prayers. It's not indicative of my novel, but it is a nasty little short story if that's your bag. And some real life ghost stories if you want to filter back to the beginning. But Thoughts and Prayers, Jkabay. Yeah, start there.
Going for the Throat. 600 words every Thursday for the last 10 years. Or jimtrainer.net.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks, guys.
Songwriter Circle is going to start here in just a little bit if you're signed up on the list. Cool, if not, you should get on there because it's filling up. Also, I don't drink anymore, so all you people need to make up the shortfall for me and make sure you tip your bartenders when you do.
I'll try, man.
That's funny because Charlotte does. Enjoyed it.